So how do our customers keep up with that amount of content cost effectively, right? And so the keys to that are automation and also making the cost of translation more effective. And this is where we're using AI agents in effect to help automate the translation itself and improve the quality and measure that quality.
Hello and welcome to the Retail Podcast. Now, today we're going to go not technical, but we're going to look at a technical aspect of something that's a big pain for the people that realize that it's a pain. And as a business owner who's tried to do multiple language across the world for the retail news website, it's a problem that I totally understand. And I've heard a lot of people talk about translation at shows, but it feels like, Bryan, and we're going to come to you, it feels like such a complex area. Or some of the experiences that people have had with different tools. Do I just use an AI, a Google plugin? Do I just Google it just seems like, I think there's a lot of money left on the table when it comes to conversion. And more importantly, the reason I was looking at it was for SEO optimization, to have my local language website, optimized to do this. So I'm joined, luckily, by Bryan Murphy, CEO of Smartling. Bryan, why don't you tell us what Smartling does and your actually, have I got Smartling right? Am I saying it right?
Yes. Yeah. No, you're right.
Cool. Yeah. Why don't you take us through what Smartling is and then your journey to CEO?
Sure, of course. So Smartling is a software company that helps companies like IBM, Disney, Tesla, Spotify create multilingual experiences for their customers around the world, is the easiest way to describe what we do. And we do that with a combination of software and AI. And we sort of solve the problem of doing exactly what you just described, which is creating these, translated, localized, multilingual experiences, which traditionally has been slow and expensive to do. And that's really the job that we're here to do, is to help our customers automate that process, make it seamless, and dramatically reduce the cost and turnaround time of producing very high quality on-brand translation.
Yeah, I think being a small business, I obviously went for the cheap option, which ended up getting me in far worse state, because I ended up with a whole bunch of dead links that were generated for translations that were in multiple languages. Anyway, it just became so problematic for me that I just thought, well, I had to retreat. I gave up trying to solve the problem, because the complex, again, I'm a small business. I am not Disney or Tesla. Their dev teams are totally different. But one of the things I heard at NRF, which was really interesting, when one of the CEOs was talking about how he gets on brand in different languages, it's actually a lot more complex than people give it credit for. To translate your meaning, your vision in a way that's natural and not computer sounding. I'm just curious because I was looking at your propensity to translate well is really high. So you're actually translating a lot of the words accurately. But how do you then move into sort of keeping that brand feel?
That's it in a nutshell. I mean, I love my translation apps, my plugins, Google Translate, for example, or any of these, and they're on my phone. And they, when you're in situations when you need to be able to communicate with someone who speaks a different language, or you just can't remember a word, they're super helpful, right? They kind of get the gist of what is being said. But if you're a brand, right? If you're a global brand like an IBM and you're producing 20 million, 30, 40 million words of content every year around the world, that's not good enough. Just like anything, there's professional grade, right? Yeah. And that's really what we do. And so a couple of things need to happen. Number one, you need automation, right? So you have to have this seamless plug-in to your, what we call the brownfield tech stack, your content management solutions, your websites, all these things. We have that integration that we do, so it allows the automation of this translation. And once once it's automated, then we have a variety of solutions that actually do that translation, ranging from the most expensive and the most traditional, which is to use a straight up human translator that's specialized in that content type and in that language pair, right? All the way to neural machine translation. And what we do that makes it this professional, that makes it different, that makes it on brand, is that we use a combination of neural machine translation, AI, and when we need to, a human expert. And that's what allows us to produce highest quality translation that sounds like, IBM or Disney in any language that you speak, incorporates the correct glossary, style guide, tone of voice, etc. So in whatever language you are translating into, it sounds like IBM, or it sounds like Disney, or it sounds like Tesla. And they have very different brand voices, right? So that's super important for our brands, is that it sounds like their brand.
And so do you often integrate into the CMS then? Okay. Yeah, because we interviewed, I should remember who we interviewed last week. CMS provider. Oh, for NRF. I'm just not.
We integrate to just about all the major
CMS providers.
Yeah, all the majors. So Contentful, Adobe, you name it. We integrate to the CMS provider, whether Content Stack, Sanity, Core, Storyblok, Chorus.
Yeah, Storyblok. Thank you.
Okay. There we go. I knew it would get it.
As we had the CIO of NRF on the podcast, and he was telling us that, obviously when the big show is happening, that website has to be translated into 5 or 6 core languages, and that content lives in so many different places, trying to create that user experience in one language. But Storyblok were like, well, that's why you would use Storyblok, because we can help you do that.
That's exactly right. So they're a good example of a good partner of ours. So we have a plugin that enables their customers to seamlessly create localized content. Another good example of that from a e-commerce perspective is Shopify. We just recently rolled out an integration to Shopify, which allows I think they've got nearly 6 million stores now in 175 different countries. And one of the things that we found is that, number one, and this is always a surprise to people who speak English, is that the internet doesn't speak English. Okay. 75% of internet users don't speak English, and 87% won't buy from an English-only website.
Yeah.
Right? It sort of makes sense when you think about it. So the point is that for the Shopify merchants out there, stores that have an international business, right, and need to have accurate and on-brand product descriptions, website copy, etc., Smartling is a super easy solution to use that is significantly faster and less expensive than the traditional way of translation and localization.
Yeah, I mean, when you really think about, e-commerce expansion just across Europe, 8 core languages that you would need to translate to. And especially if you've already come out into Europe, I don't know, if you're an English-speaking company, or even a French-speaking or a German-speaking, it's just, how are you going to grow if you don't do this? And it's interesting, you mentioned 40 million. Is that the amount of words at major sites there or thereabouts? Is that what you're seeing in terms of how many words have to be covered? Oh, gosh, just curious.
Yeah.
I was at 200,000, and I was like, oh, that's really big. And then I saw 2 million as the next one, but 40 million, I was like, wow, that's incredible.
We have, to give you a perspective, we have 16 billion words in our database.
Okay.
So all right, it's good. We translate across. We help our customers translate across 450 plus language pairs, and we've got we probably translate about 7 billion words a year for our customers.
Yeah, so just a few words here and there.
Yeah.
So one of the as a tech person, I've had this conversation time and time again, on premise or in the cloud. Where do you sit with that?
Oh, we're in the cloud. We're a cloud native platform, and that's by far and away the most efficient solution. We have a continuous development cycle. So from a technical perspective, we do over 3,300 production releases per year. So what is that, 11 per day? So our customers are always benefiting from very, very rapid innovation.
And how do you see, on the topic of innovation, obviously there's so many commercial grade AI translation tools or agents that are sort of the next thing that everyone's going to agents. Where do you sit in that world of agents and AI?
Yeah, so we that's a great question. We talk about that a lot. We're constantly if you look at a roadmap right now, it's loaded up for the next 24 months in doing exactly what you're describing there, which is helping automate the very, very arduous task of translation and localization. And once again, when you're doing 7 billion words per year, and we think that number is, we see that content on the internet is going to double in the next 5 years, right? So everyone knows that there's more and more content. So how do our customers keep up with that amount of content cost effectively, right? And so the keys to that are automation, which AI agents are super helpful there, and also making the cost of translation more effective. And this is where we're using AI agents in effect to help automate the translation itself and improve the quality and measure that quality. I'll give you a great example. So if you're once again if you take Shopify, right, 175 different countries. So you're a brand manager or an e-commerce manager, and you're producing all of this content, right, in product descriptions, etc., and you need it to be in 15, 20 different languages. Well, most people don't speak 15 or 20 languages. So how do you know that what you just wrote is on brand and accurate, right?
Yeah.
In the past, you would have relied on a human translator to review all that and give you the thumbs up. Problem with that is it's super slow and it's very expensive. So obviously the right answer is like, well, let's get AI to do it. Okay. Well, that's really what we're in the business of doing, is combining the SaaS platform that we have, machine learning, AI, and that human to create this really optimized process for translating content that has also a quality assurance aspect of it to it. So, right. So now you can feel confident. I can produce all of this content, and I know that Smartling's quality check that. In fact, we actually guarantee quality as a result of that. So you can produce in you can take all the content, produce it in 20 different languages. We'll run it through the system super fast, super cost effectively, and then guarantee that content.
In terms of the internet not speaking English, from an SEO perspective, how do you support your customers in optimizing across multiple countries and optimizing their SEO so they're ranking high, specifically when they are in retail, for example? Sure.
One of the things that I learned at eBay is that digital footprint matters, right? So we would look around and it kind of makes sense for, the way Google thinks, right? So Google looks at like, how big is this website? How much relevant content do they have? And how good is the traffic? Do people go to that site and find what they need, right? And all of that sort of like builds this concept of digital footprint. The bigger it is, the more Google thinks you're relevant, which you want for, authenticity and for rankings and all these kind of things. Yeah, the mistake a lot of companies make is they're like, okay, great, I'm big in the US, but what does your site look like in Germany or France, Japan, and these other sites? It's probably teeny tiny. So Google thinks it's teeny tiny, right? And there's always a local competitor there, like in Germany, that's like huge, right? That's their backyard. So Google prioritizes that. So digital footprint matters. And this is where we really help our customers, because it's expensive to take all that content and localize it. But we're able to do that in a super cost-effective way that generates very high ROI for them, because now we're able to take all of that content that they have, right, in the US, let's say, take it over and localize it for any of the markets. And Google loves that. Like, they're like, oh, this is great. This is a huge website. People come to it. They get what they need. It's localized. So it's a very, very cost-effective way to expand SEO globally.
That's 100% top of mind, because the last thing you want is to not rank in, whatever, the top 3 of your industry if you're a substantial company. Having a translation element doesn't slow the site down, right? Because that's the other thing that people are worried about. Is this going to slow my page refresh rate.
Yes, that's right. Well, we thought about two things. We thought about a lot of things, but speed was the other one. And so we think about that a lot too. So it's really critical that we don't impact or negatively impact performance, which we don't.
Bryan, thank you so much for giving up your time. I'm conscious of time and I want to be respectful to it, given the problems that we had early on as well. When you look to the future, how do you see the future of your industry?
Sure. So I'm a big believer that easy, integrated, cost-effective is the future, right? And so we think a lot about that as we're building our roadmap. So I see that as we're able to automate more translation, leverage AI to make it more cost-effective, we're going to see significant uptake in the amount of content that gets translated. We see this all the time. The companies are like, I would love to translate that, but I have to ration it because of dollars and resources, right? So that's really our business. Is I see over the next 2 or 3 years getting to the point where translation localization is completely automated and seamless to retailers and B2B sellers out there as part of a AI powered platform like Smartling. So you don't have to think.
It just makes so much sense, and it's one of those areas that I guess the technical folks in the room, the people running your e-commerce engine, may have a way of thinking, right? That's how they've traditionally done it. But having gone through this in such a sort of layman's way, I can see that, the negative impact that it has. And so doing it right, getting those translations right, getting your SEO right. There's so many little gotchas that I think people sometimes take for granted. But anyway, Bryan, thank you so much for giving up the time for talking to us, and look forward to seeing you at an event somewhere near in the future.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for taking the time with me.